All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Trigger Time. Today, I want to talk a little bit about stippling your handgun. This is something I've never done a video on before, but I do get questions on it actually pretty regularly. Um, and it kind of came up because, as a lot of you guys know, I just got this Gen 2 Glock 21, and one of the things I was thinking about doing to it was getting it stippled. Now, um, I thought, why not go ahead and do the quick little Trigger Time video on what I think about stippling. Is it good? Is it bad? All that kind of good stuff. Um, First off, I'll tell you right now, I don't have at the moment I don't have any guns that are stippled, and the main reason is because the guns I have work for me. The guns I have, at least that could be stippled, my polymer guns, M&Ps, Glocks, they all have perfectly adequate texturing on them. They work well for me. Even I've been out to the range when it's all nasty and hot and sweaty. Get sweaty palms, all that kind of stuff, and I'm able to get good grip on all my firearms. Okay, so I've never had an issue with the guns I have now having any problems, and for the most part, I think for most people, just a regular Glock, M&P, XD, whatever, they all have very good texturing on them. Most even your Ruger SR9 series. I mean, a lot of these guns they have good, adequate texture. Many people use these guns in self-defense situations. Cops use them every single day, and they work perfectly well with the texturing that comes on the gun. Now, that being said, there are some pros and cons to having your gun stippled, and that's what I want to talk about. The biggest con, I think, for me when it comes to stippling your gun is when it comes to the value of the gun. Contrary to popular belief on Gunbroker and a lot of other websites that sell used guns, just because you go and spend $100 on a stipple job or whatever you spent does not mean you have added that much value to the gun. In fact, quite the contrary, okay? You have done something to personalize that gun to you that the next person down the line may not want on that gun. They may not like the type of texturing. They may not like the roughness of the texturing. They may not like the texturing at all. They may not like the pattern of the texturing. You are detracting value from that gun by personalizing it to you, basically. So unless you run across somebody that absolutely has the same taste as you and likes it, and that does happen, you're taking away value of the gun. You need to understand that. Okay, most of us have guns that we will never get rid of, and then we have guns that we understand that we're buying them because we want them right now, and then someday down the road we may sell them or trade them off or whatever and get something else that we want at the time. So keep that in mind. If this is not a gun that you are hands down, hey, this is something I want to do, I'm going to keep this gun forever, and I need this to add to the firearm, to personalize it for me, then maybe you want to think twice about getting the gun stippled. So that kind of leads me into what are the times when you do want to stipple a gun, and for me that's when you want to add function to the gun. I mean, that's the original intent of stippling, is to add function to the gun. Now a lot of people kind of go with the form side of things and have kind of started using stippling as a kind of a tactical thing to do their gun, even though they may not necessarily need stippling on their gun. I've seen a lot of that, and that's another reason I say kind of stay away from things and understand you're detracting from the value of the gun, because if you're not doing this strictly for the function of your gun to make it a better defensive tool for you, you're not really doing yourself any favors by taking away value from the gun or the sellability of the gun later on if you ever want to get rid of it. On something like this, it works well because, first off, I only have $300 invested in this gun, so I can't really lower the value much more than that unless I just make it to where it doesn't work. Stippling this gun is not going to make it worth less than $300. It's still going to be worth what I have into it. And it makes sense. Something like this is an older Gen 2 frame, got some wear on it. The texturing is not as good as it used to be. Plus, the texturing on these old Gen 2s were never that great in the first place, compared to a Gen 3 or an M&P or whatever, and the texture on those is much better. So it makes sense for something like this. This is something that I don't plan on getting rid of. I want to personalize this to me as a good defensive firearm, and texturing is something. Stippling is something that I can do to that to make it work better for me. Plus, because of how little I paid for the gun, it's not going to detract from the value of the gun. So, in summation, stippling can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. It can be a waste of money if it's not your go-to defensive weapon or something that you plan on getting rid of later on. Or maybe you don't plan on getting rid of it, but hey, the likelihood is at some point I'm probably going to trade this off to somebody after I've gotten bored with it. So it can be good. It can be bad. Ultimately, if you're doing it for function and not form, and you're not trying to just be tactical and it works for you, then it's a good idea. Otherwise, I say stay away from it. So anyway, that's it, guys. Questions, comments, all that good stuff, leave them down below, and we will talk to you guys later. Thanks.